Peace. What's happening? What's happening, YouTube? Nocturnal. Welcome to Nocturnal Thoughts. The reason for this video, this was inspired by, the school shooting in Texas and all the school shootings that's occurring in the United States these days. There's a epidemic in violence, and the issue I really wanted to tackle is bullying. I feel like there's a lot of kids that go through the school system and they have to deal with this bully environment. And I wanted to provide some advice and some tips to some of the younger guys that might be dealing with this issue on how to develop different strategies and tactics to prevent themselves from being bullied, being singled out and picked on. To give you some of my background, when I was four years old, my family moved from Illinois to Atlanta, Georgia, in Decatur, Georgia, on Candler Road. So anybody from the old school of Atlanta, they know the infamous Candler Road. From the 3rd grade to the 7th grade, I went to Tony Elementary. From the 8th grade to the 9th grade was McNair Junior High School, and then from the 9th grade to the 12th grade was McNair Senior. I ended up, moving to Illinois and graduated from high school in Illinois. But, I went to McNair Junior and McNair Senior. A lot of you guys, or heard of McNair from Rich Homie Quan. And matter of fact, Gucci Mane LaFleur back in the day, we went to school right around the same time, to the same school, McNair High. These were gladiator schools, you know what I'm saying? And you had to survive, you know what I'm saying? If you were weak, it was always a survival of the fittest. So, and a little bit more background. I had an older brother growing up, and he was, matter of fact, shouts out to my older brother. He paved the way for me going through school. For one, he was always bigger. I was the runt of the family, but he was a lot bigger, and matter of fact, he got held back in the 1st grade, I believe. It was voluntary. My mother held him back purposely. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? He was always more intelligent and bigger than everybody, but she held him back like in the 1st grade, just so that he would be up to par, I think, with English or something like that. So instead of him being 2 grades ahead of me, he was only 1 grade ahead of me. So he paved the way, for me. A lot of times, a lot of the older kids that was in his age bracket would, don't mess with dude, that's little Lewis. And every time I heard that, I would swell up with pride, because it was like, I'm saying, hey, I'm little Lewis, you know what I'm saying? So, but at the end of at the same time, don't get it twisted. Like, that sword cuts both ways. Like, it was also a lot of kids from his peer group, you know what I'm saying, that they knew they couldn't handle him, so they would use me as his weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would come at me to try to get to him. So I had to learn how to fend for myself. You know what I mean? I couldn't always rely on big bro. And then at the same time, you got to realize, you know what I'm saying, within my own age group, my own peers, I had to, fend for myself. I couldn't expect for my older brother to come down and, fight my battles or fight, smaller kids. So I had to develop a mentality and a demeanor about myself that kept, kept from getting tried, keep me from getting tried. So I wanted to share my experiences, my life experiences. Like I said, I went through gladiator school systems. I saw a lot of kids get bullied. There were point in times in my life where, I got bullied. And then there were point in times in my life where, I was the bully. So I want to break down just different stories in my life. And what I'm hoping is if you can take from that some of the do's and do nots, and just I want to give tips and advice and strategies on how not to become bullied. And hopefully, I can reach at least one kid out there that might be going through a tough situation and he doesn't result to the extreme alternative, to handle his situations. Because I know how tough it can be, and if I can survive, you can survive. You just have to learn how to build up confidence and become comfortable with who you are as a person. So like I said, I want to tell from all perspectives, and just one of the some of these stories might come off a little facetious because they're very serious, but it makes me laugh because I'm looking back at the past. But just to give you an example, one story I wanted to share with you guys, this is back from my elementary days at Tony. It was a student, he sat next to me in Miss McIntyre class. And Miss McIntyre, first of all, we was an all black classroom, and we had a white teacher. Her name was Miss McIntyre, and she just wasn't built to handle, that group of kids. Like whenever we wanted to, we could send her out of the room crying, have her like a nervous breakdown. She would run out of the hallway and go talk to the teacher across the hallway, and we would have the classroom to ourselves whenever we wanted to. So we was in Miss McIntyre class, and matter of fact, let me start from here. We had another school in our school system. In our school system, we had the set aside kids that were in like a behavior disorder program, and then in our district, it was an entirely different school, and that whole school was primarily for behavior disorder students. And like once you was in a behavior disorder class, if you didn't get it, if you couldn't adjust to that class environment, then they would actually send you to this school. So this school already had a reputation of like, if you go into this school, you pretty much everything is laid out as far as your future is laid out. Like these guys in this system are hard knocks, period, point blank. But every once in a while, we would get a student from our school get sent to that school, and also we would get students from that school sent back to our school. So I remember this was like in the 7th grade, and you know how when a new student is coming to the class and everybody's the rumors and dude reputation was preceding them, and I knew this dude from back in the day, but I hadn't seen him in years because he was off to this other school. So when he came back, matter of fact, I think I knew him in boys club or something like that too. But anyways, I forget his name, but this dude just was a beast. I mean, he was like Quasimodo-ish. Like this dude was like the humpback guy from the movie 300. I mean, he was Like, he was an ugly dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude, he was light skinned with the red hair, the nappy red hair with the freckles, but he was just overdeveloped. He was like a grown dude, like, you know what I'm saying, like he was like apish. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude hands, even back then, this dude hands was like gorilla hands, big forearms and shoulders, just a big head. You know what I'm saying? This dude's head was like a big block. This was an ugly dude. I remember his teeth was all, jagged and had these big lips. I mean, he was just an ugly dude. And when he came into class, he was already, to a certain extent, kind of intimidating. You know what I mean? And we already had our fair share of bullies that we were already used to. But anyway, when he got to the school, I mean, he figured out the players and he already knew the game. And he was like, his first day to the school, the first day he got to class, he singled out this dude named Chris. And Chris was like, I think he was like the only child. And he kind of stayed in a nicer neighborhood. He always had nice clothes, like a lankier, kind of remind me like a, what's that one? What's Soldier Boy? He kind of reminded me of him. But he was like, kind of had the good hair and was dark skinned. He had the glasses. And he was cool. He was quiet and he was a nerd, but he kept to himself. But he got singled out. And for no reason, dude was like, when we get to recess, I'm gonna slap the out you, just for no reason. And I could just tell Chris from that point was like, man, why me? Like, what am I supposed to do? And you know how it is back in the day, where a fight finna go down, we all crowd around. Everybody follows them. We at recess by the jungle gym, the monkey bars and all of that. And he catch Chris, walk up to him. And, Chris don't have no kind of a defense. He don't know what to do in this situation. So, just for no reason, this dude took this big gorilla ape hand and was like, BOW! Just slapped fire out of Chris. Chris takes off running. He dips. You know what I'm saying? Because our outside gymnasium, our recess area was like down the hill. We from the South, ain't nothing but hills in the South. He takes up running up the hill, he's gone. So they come and get old boy out the class and suspend him. You know what I'm saying? He's suspended for 3 days, or whatever the case may be. I think it was 3 days back in them days. So when his suspension was over, they bring him back to class in the morning time. And once again, Miss McIntyre out of the classroom. She was always out of the classroom. Like another teacher, she was Caucasian too. Her name was Miss Jackson. Miss Jackson, and they would just go out in the hallways and they would just sit there and talk. You know what I'm saying? For whatever, the whole class periods. And Miss McIntyre was out of the classroom for whatever reason. And dude, you know what I'm saying, walk up to Chris once again, and he's like, man, you got me suspended. He's, I'm gonna slap you. You know what I'm saying? And once again, Chris was like a deer in the headlights. I mean, he didn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he wasn't built for that. So dude just cocked back another one. Wow! Slapped him across his face. Chris' glasses then flipped all off his face and everything, you know what I'm saying? He tried to put him back on his face, but he take it, you know what I mean? Now, I'm gonna give you some of the players. Reggie Red, John Johnson, Nyshawn, I think this dude's name was like Jermaine or Jeremiah, and then Tar Rob, you know what I'm saying? Dude was like, Reggie Red was like an instigator. You know what I mean? He hung around all the OGs, all the older kids from the Isley Court area. And, Reggie Red was already liking to just mix up drama, you know what I'm saying? So Reggie Red was like, yo, Chris, slap him back. And he's like, I'm gonna count to 5. I'm gonna count down from 5. And if you don't slap him back, we all gonna jump you. Straight like that. And I'm sitting next to Chris. This is back when you had the desks, everything was paired up. And we sat in the back of the class. So I'm sitting right next to Chris. I'm like, damn, I'm like, what can I do? I'm thinking at the same time, I'm like, I'm just glad it ain't me. I mean, I'm just being honest, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, I'm gonna count down from 5. And he started counting. 5, 4, 3. I'm kind of like, Chris, man, just go slap buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna take an L, but you don't want to get jumped by the whole class. 2, 1. So Reggie Red came over there, and Reggie Red was kind of a lanky, tall dude too. Reggie Red came back with a backhand pimp slap, like this, right? Slapped him. The little glasses that flew off his face again, right? Another dude, I think John Johnson or DeCarlos, one of them guys, they came back and they slapped him. Then Nyshawn, this is back in the day. I don't know if you kids remember these. I know anybody from my generation do, but the high-tech boots. Nyshawn had the brand new tan high-tech boots on with a cross-colored joint. He come over there, he walked back up to Chris, and he's just like, boom! Kicked him in his chest. When he kicked him in his chest, Chris chaired him, flipped back, and it, luckily, it landed against the wall, and he didn't fall all the way down. Chris gets up, takes off, runs out the classroom. I'm like, man, how the whole class is all hyped up, you know what I'm saying, when something like that go down. So Miss McIntyre coming to class like, she clueless. What happened? And next thing you know, I think whatever, vice principal, they come in, and our class was way in the back of the school. So they finally get back up there, and they kind of asking everybody generally, like, what happened? And everybody was like, we don't know, we ain't see nothing. They get to me, and they asking me, and they know I sit right next to him. And Chris looking at me like, man, help me out. And they like, what happened? They asking me. And even at that time, I felt bad, but I'm on the spot, my heart beating. I'm like, I was over at the computer. I was playing number munchers. I don't know. I looked up, and all I seen was Chris run out of the room. You know what I'm saying? And that was that. He didn't have. That's how the school system was back in them days. So I don't even think dude even got suspended for that again. You know what I mean? I don't want to go into that yet. I'll get to that story at a later days. But I remember Chris started bringing a little fake. Back in the day when the BB guns looked real, little 9mm joints, he started trying to bring a little fake gun to school just to try to, protect himself. But it wasn't real. And that's another story for another day. But I just wanted to share, stories like that. I got a lot of stories that I want to share. But I'm gonna do it in a series of, anti-bullying and stop bullying. So I just want to share my stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I hopefully you can learn from them. You can take certain tips and advice and strategies that I've developed over time, just naturally through life. And I'm not going to release all of these all at once. I want to wait and see what my viewers look like, what my comments look like. I want to get some guys subscribing. So if you're interested in learning some, just some self-defense type of advice, and just a survival mentality and some anti-bullying information and things like that, tune in, click the like button, leave comments, you guys let me know if you like the content, because that'd be a motivation for me. The more motivation I have, the more I will want to release these things that come to my mind, things I want to share from my experience of life. Yeah, that's it. That's the goal. I want to help reach somebody out there that, you know, might be looking for a way out of any kind of a situation where he finds himself being singled out and picked on and bullied on. And hopefully I can help that person out. So, like I said, comment, like, subscribe, click on the notification bell so that you are tuned in to when I do come out with new release videos. This is Nocturnal Thoughts. I'm peacing out. Remember, united we stand, divided we fall. Peace, YouTube. Nocturnal.